This is Brother Jack coming to you live today from the heart of Dixie. It just don't jump out at you. But them little containers you can stick in your house. One day I was in the house, man, the water went off. I said, my gosh, what am I going to do? I had all this water around. So I got in my car. I said, they were working on my thing down the road there a little bit. So sure enough, that's what it was. Boy, I felt really good about it. I had water in a few minutes. But if I didn't, I still had water. Whatever you use today, you'll use tomorrow. Let me tell you something. It's better to be prepared and be wrong than to be wrong and not prepared. I've always thought that. If you don't need it, whatever you need today, you'll need tomorrow. EMP thing goes off, or sun flares goes off, you don't have no electricity, you're going to walk home. If you're a mile from the house or 10 miles, you're going to walk home. There ain't nothing going to run, but anything in your 70s and back, they'll run because they're a different system. But you don't want to be running the roads anyhow, because if you're the only person out there running the roads, somebody's going to stop you, maybe shoot you or something. They won't know what are you doing out, and nobody else get on the road. So there's a time God said that no man can work. Probably before that happens, we'll have time for a revival. The prophets are all saying the same thing. I listen to them every night, and they all say the same thing, that probably, not for sure, they kind of saying for sure, but I'm going to wait and see. But since they're all saying the same thing, they said between September the 13th is when the Jubilee starts. And I was going to tithe some in tonight with us and with Israel and things like that, to show that not everything, we don't have all the 613 laws to go by. But I asked Larry many years ago. I said, did you ever think about Jerusalem and the three letters in the middle says USA? He said, yeah, I thought of that. Well, see, that's 9 letters, the 3 middle says USA, but it only works on the English language. It don't work in other languages like that. But we're dealing with America. And I've got about a half an hour program on Israel and Bible and American. Just to give you one example. It's in Daniel 4:7. Daniel 4:7. And now, what that is, when you get and read that's Daniel. He had this vision, okay? And he saw a lion. Well, the lion is England. You go to England, the lions are everywhere. He said on this lion was an eagle. Now, there's other nations, there's other people. Germany had an eagle, but they're gone. Rome had an eagle, they're gone. America's got an eagle, and we're still around. Okay? But what I was going to say is that when you read Daniel 7:4, and that's where it talks about it, it says that this lion, which is England, said it had wings on it, and said it flew off. Well, that was America. I got too many scriptures that says it is. I know a lot of people are skeptical, but you go back to July the 4th. That's the 7th month and 4th day. The scripture's in Daniel 7:4. Same thing. I take 30 minutes and give you stuff like that. Whether you believe it or not, don't care. I'm just telling you, I got a lot of it, and I think there's some possibilities there. Not saying everything for sure. I tell you one thing. When you say God said something, you're going to be okay if God said it. But if you didn't, put it another way. I believe, or it might come to pass, or whatever, So I try to be careful about things like that. Dried foods, canned goods, and things like that are good for years and years. Don't care what to tell you. I'm brought some preppers, and they have canned goods been put up for years. One brother told me the other day, he said that these MR meals and things like that military stuff, he said he's ate them 14 years old. So, not saying that all of them will last that long, but you can put up food, you can put up dried stuff, all kinds of stuff. Water Water. Well, you got to be darn sure about your water. You can probably put a couple of tablespoons or even a little less than that in a gallon of water, wait about 30 minutes and drink it, be all right. You have to boil your water for 2 minutes. Don't care what they tell you, 2 minutes. 2 minutes, everything's dead. You let it cool it, you can drink your water. Now, you can go to Walmart. I have a lot of filters. Matter of fact, I come back with Brother Baker's one time, and man, we just had sacks of water filters, and nobody wanted them, so I just put them up in boxes, put them away, and I don't know where they're at, but they're somewhere, but they're not for sale anymore. But you can go to Walmart's. Walmart's have got some filters. I was down there the other day, and I bought a couple of them, and I don't believe what it said, but it said it's good for 100,000 gallons. And you go down about $25, and you don't want to get messed up with water. That'd kill you. You get charcoal, but it's got to be a medical charcoal. You can get online, charcoal, punch it. Charcoal. If you're getting sick and you're deathly sick, you take this charcoal, and I have some. You just put it in water, maybe a couple of tablespoons, a little half full glass of water. Stir it up and drink it. That's what they do for you at the hospital. If you go to the hospital, they'll give you charcoal to keep you if you're deathly sick, and this could save your life if you own some charcoal. And that's just like wood, is what it is. That's all it is. Actually, it's just wood. It's but it's they do it, and it's medically done, and that's what you'd want to do. I know a man that has a prophetic ministry, and the Lord told him, He said it's going to be hot and cold. He said this summer going to be hot. He says winter going to be cold. And I believe that. I really do. They're talking about this El Nino thing, it's a super El Nino, and said it's going to get bad cold. Well, I got electricity, and if it goes off, I got me some gas out there. We got something. They didn't even, I don't think they even charged us nothing. I don't care if you don't have gas, you get your gas stove. They put in a 250-gallon tank, and they run it in your house, and they said, hey, you're this year's customer, said we're going to give you a discount, and instead of $1.77, it's like $1.50 something a gallon. So I got gas for a couple of years, but I went and got me a wood stove, just a little small one. We go to a lot of these mountain festivals and things like that where they have the bluegrass and all that, and I seen one there one day, and I bought it for $80. Come home and paint it, and it looks like a new one, and we had it a couple of years now. But they'll probably cost you maybe $250, I think, and you can buy them $250, $300. But you got to put your piping in. Well, I found a man. I said, God, I need some help. So he sent me some help, and I got this goofy fella, and he comes to my house and brings me wood for $40 a load. When you get an answer to the telephone, which is not real often. But he gives me a full-size pickup, $40 a load. I got enough wood for 3 years. I can put a pile of wood about that tall almost to the back of the church. So I'm not worried about it. I got electricity, I got gas, and I got wood. If I live, I'm all right. If I don't live, it's okay anyhow because I won't need it, see. But I'd like to be here for a while. Okay. You need to get you a little bit of garden. I got a place that's terrible. So the soil. So in a few days, I'm going to get me somebody with a truck, come in, bring me in a load of dirt, and get them to spread it out. What you want to do is have you a little garden, and here's what you want to do. You don't want to put nothing in there that don't multiply a lot. Forget a radish or something like that. Put you some squash in there. A little squash seed, man, you'll get dozens of them. Tomatoes, one tomato seed will get you a lot of tomatoes. One little ear of corn will get you 1,400 little ears of kernels of corn. So you put, last winter, about halfway in the winter, I got me a bunch of seeds. I got a lot of these seeds that reproduce themselves, and I started growing them and stuff. So when springtime come, I had stuff up like that, and so we've had corn, and we've had tomatoes and all that stuff, squash. But I'm going to get me some dirt hauled in, some topsoil, get somebody to do that, and that will that'll help you have a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise. But I'm going to tell you one thing: if you're not spiritually right with God, it don't matter just to forget about all this, because you're going to take the mark and go to hell anyhow. you see, because you got to be spiritually right. And I look in James a lot, and I tell you what I believe. I believe what the Bible says. The Bible said, if you're going to have works to go with your faith, the devil believes and he's going to hell. Exactly where he's going. And all those that follow him. You can do something. I mean, you can actually do something. Many years ago, I lived with Larry a couple of years before him and Martha Joe got married. He said, I'm going to give you something to do. He said, I'm going to let you open the doors and close everything up or sweep the lot out there. I knew good and well I wasn't in no position to open this door and close it up. I mean, that's a real responsibility. Well, I went out there and swept the lot for a year with a little broom. He wouldn't give me a big room. One day I told him, I said, get me a big room or I quit. He got me a big room and I quit anyhow. But I didn't quit right then. It was a little bit later on. And the reason I did, I had things to do. I mean, I had a lifestyle and I would stay on the road a lot. And when I had done it, I didn't sweep that lot for Larry Perkins. Not one time. I'd done it because this is the Lord. And I said, Lord, I'm doing this for you. And I mean, I just had a good time. I got it real clean. I said, Lord, we got it clean. So you can do something. You can be a prayer warrior. There's something that you can do. If all you're going to do is just do nothing, I mean, you got to put the works. You got to have some works. You got to do something somewhere down the line, because if you don't, it's real simple. Jesus said that there was 10 virgins, and so he said half the church was lost. Then 10 virgins, all of them went to church. They all thought they were saved. They thought they was going to heaven. Half the church was lost. They said, well, we done all this stuff. He said, well, I never knew you to start with. And he closed the door, buddy, it's closed. Just like when they closed the door on Noah's Ark. You know, they told Noah, for 120 years, he preached to people and told them the truth, and nobody believed. And that's what the same way it is here. I'm talking to you, and I guarantee you I could come back in a month and ask you to raise your hands. Who got prepared? Man, I'd faint if there was 2 of you out there. I'm telling you the truth. You wait and see. I ain't going to ask you, but I've done this for a long time, and I've reached out to thousands of people on the radio. I was going to tell you about that too right quick before I go on the rest of this. I appreciate Brother Larry and his 2 sons and his brother. They helped me to just get one little CD here. It's called Trouble in the Land. So I got on this radio station and up in New York, and we covered 3 states, all over 1 million people, 1 million plus, which don't mean you got that many people on there, but you got hundreds or you got thousands, listening in. And so I thought, well, this is the only one I'm going to have. I had a hard time doing that, and I didn't really like it when I done it. I mean, I'm not a good speaker, I have a hard time. I used to have a real hard time. Years ago, before Larry and them, Martha got married, he come in one Sunday, just wore out from a trip. He said, Brother Jack, I want you to preach for him tomorrow. Man, I just like to fell down and fainted myself. Because I could take a 30-minute message and destroy it in 5 minutes. I said, Brother, I got to study. He said, I can't do it. He preached, done a better job than I could probably ever done. I remember this, and my wife says the same thing a lot. We was on a plane one time to Africa, and he wanted to sleep, and I wanted to talk. And he looked at me real sarcastic, said, don't you ever shut up. I showed him. I didn't speak to him for 10 or 15 minutes. He didn't get nothing else. My wife tells me that all the time, brother. She does. She says, don't you ever shut up. She said, quit thinking and go to bed. I go to bed, I'm thinking about stuff. She said, what? Okay, I got this one CD done. It's called Trouble in the Land. Well, they let me do these broadcasts from my house, and they take my CDs and everything, so I got some more. And these have been going out to thousands of people. It's called America Has Forgotten God. Satan has fallen. The days we're living in, when shall Jesus come? Is America in the Bible? God is always in charge, I promise you. There's great trouble on the earth. What to do in times of trouble, that's some of what I'm teaching here. Things that may happen soon. So all these came from this little one. So I don't know where it's going. It might not get very much further, but I'm trying, and I talked to Sister back there tonight about doing some internet stuff. But I mean, I'm willing to try. You know, you never know what God's going to do. I mean, I started out with one tape, and now I got a bunch of tapes, and I got. I might get on the internet, and somebody might like me. I don't know, and tell somebody else. I don't know if I'll do that or not. But if we just try, we just do our best. God said, "You do what you can do, and I'll do what you know not to do." In other words, God sees around the corners. He'll take care of it for you. You put out your water barrel and say, "God, send the rain." God will send the rain. But if you don't do nothing, you ain't got nothing. And I hate the fact. I got a friend I've been known a little bit longer than Larry. Me and my wife go over there. He lives out Tennessee River, this side of Huntsville. And I go out there 3 or 4 times a year, and we go out and eat and everything. And he pays one time, and I pay another time. We've been friends for a while, all 40-something years. And I've told him about this for years. And he sort of makes fun of me. He says, "I just don't think about it." Well, they didn't think about it in Noah's day, and they all died. All but Noah and the other 7. They got saved because of Noah. It was Brother Noah that believed God. And so the rest of them believed God because they believed Brother Noah. Now, then sometime I asked him the other day, it was over not long ago, and he just smiled, about half smiled at me and said, "I ain't prepared." Well, wait till this year's out. He ain't getting my stuff. I got 500-600 rolls of toilet paper. You ain't getting none of it. Sister Baker, she said, "I got plenty of toilet paper." And she said, "You ain't getting none of it." She said, "It's mine. My food is going to be mine." Like Brother Larry said, he said God showed him that every man for himself. Now, that if you got a wife, I mean, she's the same as you. You're one. You take care of your wife. But if times of trouble, if times come, you know what would happen if they cut off the water and stuff in a big city, a major city? Well, the gangs would take over right away. They'd take over. They'd kill. The police might as well stay home. They'll run from them. There's thousands and thousands of gang members, and they'll shoot the police. They'll own everything. They'll own what food's there or what. I mean, you know, if you're in a big city, I'd say get out of it. Get out in the country as best you can, because it's coming. It's coming one day. I don't know when. God didn't knock on the door and tell me what day, but I believe it's coming probably this year, because most of the prophets say that it is. It was a brother, and I get on these rabbit trails. I'm a big rabbit trail person. As long as it goes somewhere, it's all right. But anyhow, this brother, he worked for TBN, and God told him, said, "Go down in the Caribbean. I'm going to show you something." He said, I didn't know where I was going. He walked down the Caribbean, kept going, and he found this big radio station down there, covered the whole Caribbean, but it was just sitting there, and nobody was using it. He found out his old boss that owned TBN owned it, and he just gave it to him. And now he's got the biggest ministry. He's got a lot of people under him. It's real notable people. He told brother, he said, "The Lord told me," and down in Texas, years ago, back in the 90s, he said, "One day, brother, you're going to be on national television." He said, "Brother Baker, this is the first time I've been on anybody else to be on national TV since the Lord told me." And Brother Baker's mouth just, man, fella. Brother Baker, he's a little fella. But nevertheless, there's a lot of people the Lord has showed things to and said that this is the time. And they all said this is the time. And so I believe that, you know, I will tell this in here right quick. And there was a man, I don't know if I shared this with anybody or not, but he said falling off of a building won't kill you. He said it's when you hit the bottom. He said that's when it'll kill you. He said America's been on a free fall in sin for years and years and years, and it has. You know good well. We don't have time to get into all the things the Supreme Court has done. The Word of God, you know, God said that He hated those that would kill innocent people. They killing their babies, maybe 65, 70 million. And I could go on, took prayer out of school and everything. And he said that God told him, God didn't tell me, God told him, he said, the other day when the Supreme Court ruled, and favor of homosexuals. He said God spoke to him and said, "Today I have divorced America." It makes sense to me. It might not make no sense to you at all. I'm not saying God said, I'm just saying he said that, but it makes sense to me. And I could go on and on and on. That's the reason I say I think we're getting pretty close. Something's going to happen. And time is shorter than you think. Inflation, now, if I was you, when I left here tonight, I'd take a beeline right straight to Walmart's. Let me tell you, you can go in there and get a 20-pound bag of rice for $7, $8. I saw 25 pounds of a flour today for $25. You can buy all this dried stuff. I mean, that's not a lot of money. It's a lot if you don't have it. You're 8 years behind. You're 8 years behind. Every one of you here is 8 years behind. I don't have time to explain that to you why, but you're 8 years behind in putting up stuff. You may have, I don't know, you may have a few weeks or 2 or 3 months, but you're running behind. You're 8 years behind. If you don't do something, nobody's going to do it for you. You got to be the one to do it. I'd go get me some stuff on the way home and take it home. I'd start today if it was me. I find that people don't, though. You talk to them and they hears and they're not doers, and they're just going to go on and do nothing. And when time comes, you'll say, "I remember old Brother Jack. I remember those people on TV that said that, and I ain't got nothing." You know what God said? He said there's Christians that some of them are going to have more stripes than others. More stripes. Now that means to me, if you do what God said, you're not going to have that. You're going to have a hard time. But if you don't put up and do nothing when trouble comes, you're going to have a lot harder time than your neighbor over to put up a bunch of stuff to eat. Got him a little wood stove. You know, if you didn't have nothing, you got you some flour and you got you some water, and put your little switch in there and just put your pan there and just put your little piece of bread. I bought today some at Walmart. I bought a couple these little old things of a dried, dehydrated butter. And I thought, well, my Lord, if I just got me some water and some of that self-rising flour, put on there and cooked it, and you can take a little water down there and put that butter in there and put it on there and let it cook, have you some fried bread and make you a pancake. I went and bought a bunch of, I think of it in a minute, it's honey. I bought a bunch of it the other day. It's really expensive. It cost me $14 a quart. You want to get honey that has not been processed. You have to go to a health food store. Stores are not going to have it. That is an antibiotic. You can pour that on a cut, and it'll just like alcohol, it'll kill germs in there. But you have to get the type that's hadn't been cooked. But it's an antibiotic, so you keep some. I've got some for an antibiotic. I've got a lot of stuff. I got some to eat, and I eat it along because I love good honey. But I got some the other day, and orange blossoms out of Florida. Got some of that. And then my family come from Okanokie Swamp in Georgia, and so the man had some honey from Okanokie Swamp. I got me some Okanokie Swamp honey. It's all good. And so I can get me a little bit of flour and stir it up and put it on there and have me a pancake when there ain't no pancakes. Somebody said, well, there's not going to be no election. Well, God didn't tell me that. If we have a major problem in America, we didn't talk about these things tonight, the San Andreas fault, California drop off, the Madrid fault through Mississippi. It happened in 1811, I think, and the river was 100 miles wide. They say it's ready to happen again. We talked and see it now on TV. Canary Islands, there's 5 of them, and one of them's been exploding for several years. When it hits the deep blue sea, they said the tidal waves coming to America 100, 200 feet tall and take out everything on the East Coast. I could tell you stuff over and just on and on and on and on and on tonight. Don't have time. But if we have one major problem, just one, that's all we need is just one of them. Our president will declare martial law. I promise you he will. Martial law means this. It means the Supreme Court don't have nothing to say about nothing. Congress, Senate, they don't have nothing to say about nothing. No, it don't seem. And I used to think they had some power. I don't think so. But in martial law, the only man in the world or in America that has anything to say about anything is your president, and he'll tell you what you'll do, and he'll tell you when you do, and if you don't, they put you in jail. So if something major happens, which I look for something major to happen, he could, not saying he will, I don't know what he would. God didn't tell me. But if something major happened, you'll have martial law. And martial law means that President Obama is the only man that will have a word to say about anything. If he catch you doing something you don't supposed to do, you'll probably wind up in prison somewhere or shot or whatever. But he has it'll be martial law. Now, what does martial law do for it? Well, when countries start having major problems, they want to come together, and the Bible talks about it, about the 10 nations, and there'll be others that'll come together. So, if President Obama, he'd love to sell us out in a second. And I don't get started on him, buddy, because I could tell you a bunch of stuff. But nevertheless, he'd sell us out in a second. He'll put us right in them United Nations bunch. You know who runs that in the United Nations? The Antichrist. Jesus said, I won't get in this deep, but Jesus said, in Matthew 24, 29 through 31, he said, I'm coming back immediately after the tribulation. And Hebrew and Greek says following. And so I need an hour to get into that. So we don't have that. But something's going to happen, and you better be ready, because as Brother Larry tells me, he said, Lord showed him years ago, it'd be every man for himself. And that's just about the way it is. I mean, you're going to have to defend yourself. You're going to, let's see. I'll close with this. Turkey. Now, this is something that really happened, because I know it. It's on television and everything. It wasn't like somebody just thought, it might be. Turkey made a statement just recently, within the past few weeks. They said, we're getting up a coalition of Muslim nations, and said, we're going to lead them against Israel, said we're going to destroy Israel. If anybody reads their Bible, my God, people don't even study Revelations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Joel, and different things. But the Bible says this is going to happen, so I can say, well, it's going to happen because God said it would. But Turkey and them, and sooner or later, Russia's going to be involved. But when a nation says we're going to get the rest of Muslims, we're going down there and we're going to wipe out Israel, they're going to some things. There's a Psalms 83 war, and there's some things coming up. This one man said he took over Brother Baker's place out in east, everywhere it was there, when he lost all that. And of course, y'all probably heard the same thing. He said that he had a worst vision he ever had in his life. He said he saw people come across the border. He's a godly man, has a major church, and he's a real godly man. And he's done, God's used him greatly. And he said that people come across the border, said they already got it planned, said they're worse than ISIS, said they've already got it planned, said all of a sudden, he said one day in the near future, he said they're going to come across there. He said they're going to go to schools, and said they're going to kill hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children.